All right, what is going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the pregame show. Lakers round one taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Game four coming up in a couple of hours. Trying to give ourselves a little bit of an opportunity for this thing to breathe. Give some people a chance to watch it as they kind of get their Sunday after or underway before tip off actually happens. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you for being here. Probably go about a half hour today, half hour at least for the pregame show, and got a number of different topics that I want to get into. Obviously, last time we did a show was on Sunday, or I'm sorry, was on Friday night. Lakers lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I got a number of topics that I want to get into. We'll look back a little bit at the game three loss. Must win for the Lakers. I know there's ways of actually there's the technicality of an actual must win, and then there's kind of the desperation that your team might be in. Um, I want to talk about some different players for the Lakers. Who steps up? I don't even care who it is. Just can they get a little more production from their squad, from their team? I mean, outside of the big three, and it's not like those guys have showed up every single game. I don't know who the hell steps up for the Lakers, but it's got to be somebody. If it's not happening in game four, I don't know when it's going to happen. I'm going to give the Minnesota Timberwolves some credit. I'm going to give Anthony Edwards, some of their role players. We'll talk a little bit about the Timberwolves perspective. We'll point out some solutions of how the Lakers actually tie the series up against Minnesota, and then we'll do our prediction here at the end, and we'll go from there. I'm going to give you just a quick sneak peek into my prediction. Lakers are not going back home down 3-1. They're not going back down 3-1. And I will fall on my sword saying that today, and I'll say it 100 different times. They're not going back to LA down 3-1. And if they are, then you know what? I don't know what to tell you. Then every prediction that was out there is way off and way wrong. And maybe we all underestimated the Minnesota Timberwolves. If you guys got thoughts, comments on the game, questions about the game, opinions about the game, feel free to throw them in the comments, and then I'll try to get to them as well. I just ask for one thing. If you guys can please subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that. Closing in on 32,000 subscribers would be great to try to get that done here sooner than later. Okay, let's get things started here. And I'm just going to take a quick little peek here at some of the comments. I'll wait on the comments here for a quick second. I'll come back to them. But I do appreciate you guys being a part of the show. I know I've never really done pre-games before. I mean, I used to do them on 710 ESPN. Obviously, I was doing that for years. But at least for the postseason, I'm throwing these in, and we'll go from there. All right, let's look back at game three here real quick. I know it was a couple days ago. It feels like it was a month ago. Lakers lose game three. I think a little bit of bad luck for the Lakers, but it doesn't matter. I want to make sure I emphasize this when I say it. When I say a little bit of bad luck, obviously what I mean by that is Luka wasn't 100%. Do you think the Minnesota Timberwolves cared that Luka wasn't 100%? They're like, cool, sounds good. So we're going to go ahead and take advantage of that. And if they can go up 2-1 because Luka's not 100%, by the way, that's not the only reason why they went up 2-1. Minnesota Timberwolves are playing a good series. They're playing good basketball. So I go back to game three here for a quick second. A couple things stood out to me that the Lakers can control, and then a couple of things that maybe they have less control of. I was texting yesterday with Trevor Lane of Lakers Nation. Him and I'm just kind of asking him, like, is this kind of how this series is going to go? And anyways, one of the things that he was mentioning in the text is just how many times the Lakers kind of shot themselves in the foot. Here's what's not going to happen in game four. And we're going to be doing a post-game show right after the game. What time's that at? Probably 3 o'clock, somewhere around there. Here's what can't happen. And we're sitting here talking about the series is tied to a piece. You can't have 19 turnovers in a freaking playoff game and expect to win that game. I mean, does it not seem like to you guys that the Lakers have walked into the postseason, but have almost treated it like the regular season? I mean, go look at game one, how sloppy the Lakers were, how much the Minnesota Timberwolves just completely set the tone. How often of the time the Minnesota Timberwolves put their elbow into the Lakers' chin and the Lakers were like, hey, we want nothing to do with this. Our bad. Game 3, you commit 19 turnovers. I think they take less than 15 shots than what the Minnesota Timberwolves took because of the turnovers. Not just the turnovers, points off of turnovers. They call it, I think one of the stats on ESPN is conceded points off turnovers. That was way lopsided. Um, the points in the paint, I get it. I understand it more. The Lakers clearly don't have size, and Minnesota's like, cool, we're going to go ahead and take advantage of that. And by the way, that's not even using Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert has almost been a non-factor this series. I know some people will say, Al, you're discrediting what Gobert's doing on the defensive side. My point is that Gobert's not putting up big numbers, and he's also not playing big minutes. So that means they're playing bully ball with the Lakers without their center. They're doing it with Naz Reid, with Julius Randle. Jaden McDaniels is obviously living in the paint. A lot of his buckets are coming from inside the paint, or at least inside the three-point line. When I look back at game 3, there's a few things that stick out to me. Yes, Luka was not 100%. Of course, that had an effect on the game. No question about it, it did. But there's other areas of the game that the Lakers lost game 3. And I think the biggest frustration to me so far, watching the Lakers so far in the postseason, in the playoffs, I don't feel like these. I don't know how much they're treating these like playoff games. I mean, game 2 they came out desperate because game 1 they weren't desperate enough. That's your justification for coming out desperate in game 2. Well, we weren't physical enough in game 1, so we're going to do that in game 2. Okay. Now game 3, the momentum starts turning to Minnesota. They're playing at home. Role players are all chipping in. We won't even talk about Jaden McDaniels. I don't even know what to say about that guy. Give him a lot of credit. But also, I don't know, maybe put a hand in his face, maybe make his life a little bit more difficult. But with all that being said, does this feel like the Lakers are in this desperation mode in the postseason like some of these other teams are? Doesn't feel like it to me. Feels like Minnesota understands the magnitude of these games. And I feel like the Lakers, unfortunately, they've been behind all series. Before you got to sit down and, enjoy the first half of Lakers basketball in game 1, they were already down double digits. And then now, they needed game 2 just to tie it back up. Game 3, they're behind the series again. So a lot of frustration, I think, through the first 3 games. Give the Minnesota Timberwolves credit. I'll do that a little bit later. But also on the Lakers, it's kind of on their ass. 19 turnovers, points in the paint. They got outscored by 30. Some Olay defense towards the end of the game. Obviously, Anthony Edwards took over as well, but just a really frustrating game 3. The clear positives from game 3, I would say LeBron and Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves finally started hitting some threes, looked a lot more comfortable, and LeBron was phenomenal. Was just basically trying to make up for Luka not being healthy and Luka not being ready to go. All right, let me keep moving on with some of the comments here, and then actually, you know what? No, let me do this now so I could kind of wrap up game 3, and then we can go from there. Let's see. Wolves warming up the trash can lids. Okay. Denial is one of the most predictable human responses. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's go. Our entire season is on the line, baby. All right, and that's actually going to go to my next topic that I'm going to have here. So let's keep going here. Anyone nervous today? I mean, you want to call it nervous or you want to call it everything's on the line? Greetings from Utah, Xavier. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you tuning in from Utah. Look at this. Darren coming in from Alaska. Phenomenal. Very, very nice. I know this is weird. Sunday morning. I feel like might as well read the gospel. Sliwa, I hope the Lakers lose now. I don't want our team to win. All right, I don't understand that one. I'm not watching the game. It's too stressful. It's a must-win, Sliwa. If the bench doesn't step up, we have no chance of winning the series, let alone making it in the conference finals. All right, good comment so far. And I think this comment, I hope you're not wrong, Slee. This is me basically saying Lakers are not going back to LA down 3-1. Let me hit on my next topic here real quick. Must win for the Lakers. I don't even know why this is much of a conversation. Who made these topics? Al, you made the topics. Okay, never mind. Never mind. I don't think it's much of a conversation. How is this not a must win for the Lakers? How is it not? You can make the case, yeah, but if Lakers go down 3-1, two of the next three are going to be at crypto, this, that. If they go down 3-1, there has been no indication that the Lakers are better than the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's been no indication that the Lakers are better than the Minnesota Timberwolves through 3 games. There just hasn't. I could sit here and I could make an argument to everybody, and I could say, well, the Lakers are yet to play a great game where Minnesota's already played. I feel like Minnesota's basically just played a bad quarter, a couple of quarters. Lakers kind of, up 6 or 7 at the end of the first quarter in game 1. After that, Minnesota dominated. You could say maybe the fourth quarter was ugly for the Timberwolves. Okay, Minnesota plays a bad quarter 1 in game 2. The rest of the way, they outscore the Lakers. I mean, outscore them big time in that fourth quarter as well. All right, game 3. Maybe Lakers are basically taking a quarter in each one of these games, and it's like Minnesota's taken away the next 3 quarters. There's been no indication that if the Lakers were to fall 3-1 in this series, and this goes back to my topic, must win for the Lakers with a question mark, which is actually kind of idiotic for me to put a question mark there. Of course, it's a must win. Absolutely, it's a must win. I mean, let's put it this way. Doesn't it feel like this afternoon's game, I don't want to say decides the series, but if Minnesota wins, I feel like it decides the series. If the Lakers win, then you're back in this, all right, game 5 may very well dictate this series. They got no margin for error tonight or no margin for error this afternoon. They just don't. And frankly, watching this team play the way they did in the regular season since the Luka trade and watching them in this series against the Minnesota Timberwolves, I don't know if this just looks like a different team or Minnesota's just a bad matchup. Because I will say, and we've talked about this a lot, every time the Lakers were playing a new team, it's like, oh, it's the first time they're playing Denver with Luka and LeBron. What's that going to look like? Oh, it's the first time they're playing Houston, Golden State, Memphis, OKC. We kind of did that with all the teams. Well, the first time we got to see the Lakers versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, a healthy Timberwolves team, a healthy Lakers team, it wasn't in the regular season. Obviously, with Luka and LeBron, it wasn't in the regular season. The one game they played against each other was Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle were out. I'm not going to take anything away from that game. How are you going to take anything away? Those are 2 key players. Look how big Randle's been for them this series. I'm not taking anything away from those previous games based off of what they did against each other in the regular season. So this is the first time you're seeing the Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Both teams are healthy, and you see it in the postseason. And so far, yeah, Minnesota is 100% outplaying the Lakers. They're outclassing them. And every expert out there that picked the Lakers in 6 or 5 or 7, including myself, picked the Lakers in 6. Now, still alive if Lakers can win tonight. Those predictions all look off. And part of the reason why I think maybe those predictions look off is also because these teams never got a chance. We didn't have any data coming into the series with these 2 teams against each other. And the Timberwolves are looking like the real deal. Back to the must win for the Lakers. Of course, it's a must win. I got nothing to sugarcoat here. I got nothing. I got no angle. They better win this afternoon. Now, I did mention that I did think Lakers would go back to LA tied to a piece. I think everybody thought there's a good chance this would be a long series. But Minnesota's better than I thought. Period. Point blank. They got, I think, more reliable role players, which I'm going to get to in just a second. But let me read some of your comments to simplify all this. Yes, no question about it. This is a must win for the Los Angeles Lakers. If you go down 3-1 and seeing how lopsided this series has been at times, seeing the size disadvantage, seeing all these different players stepping up for the Timberwolves and all these other players not stepping up for the Lakers, I don't see the Lakers coming back. So now you tie the series up 2 apiece. All right, it's 2 apiece. You're basically starting the series. It's a 3-game set. Anybody's series from there. Timberwolves, really good team. Yeah, this one I don't understand. T-Wolves going to win. Lakers ain't serious. How are they not serious? No, did not jinx it, Matt. I said he was never going to have that efficient of a game again. He shot 11 of 13 in game one. Well, I didn't know he was going to come back and drop a 30 piece on the Lakers on top of that. All right, let's take a look at a couple of the comments here. If we don't win today, it's over. This series is not stars versus stars because it's tied for that. It's against the role play. Okay, by the way, terrible for the Lakers if that's the case. And I don't disagree with you. Look at my next topic. Who steps up? I'm gonna talk a little bit about that because I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. This is not a series about stars. This is a series about the role players. And you know who's not showing up consistently for the Lakers? Role players. I mean, let's make this a topic here. Let me just actually get a couple comments in. I want to make sure that I'm reading some of these off. LeBron lost too much in his career to care about this series. His pride and ego is numb already. Disagree. LeBron's trying to do anything he can to keep things moving. Wool size giving Lakers problem. I already did. I did a video yesterday already looking at, okay, who's available size-wise in the offseason. And that is, you know, maybe that's me jumping obviously two ahead. It doesn't even if the Lakers get past Minnesota, even if the Lakers got to the Western Conference Finals, they're still going to need to address the size. The size obviously is a big problem. Why not throw Dalton and see if he can get his threes? A lot of people, it's so funny. I feel like there's a lot of people saying that with Dalton. By the way, you might need to try something different today. Okay, let me keep going with some of the comments here. And then we'll go from there. By the way, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Look at this Sunday morning here. Cheers to you. Doing a little ginger tea. Ginger tea just gets in there. Just gets into the body. I already had coffee, by the way. I already had a cup of coffee. All right, who steps up? If you guys look at my third piece here. Who steps up? I don't care who steps up. I genuinely don't care who steps up. Can someone just step up other than the three main players for the Lakers? My God, how inconsistent is this team? How inconsistent are these role players? Rui, Dorian Finney-Smith, Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes. I think Goodwin has actually put in some decent minutes. I know he's not perfect, but you're asking a dude that was a two-way player X amount of months ago to come in and contribute in the playoffs. Dalton Connect, I know, isn't getting his opportunities. Can somebody step up? I mean, if this is, somebody had a comment a few minutes ago that this is about the role players. It's role players versus role players. Can I tell you something? If this comes down to role players versus role players, start booking your vacation. Start getting ready. I mean, then I gotta get ready for the offseason. Because the way Minnesota's role players are playing versus the Lakers role players, and listen, I don't think this is a shock or surprise. When you got Naz Reid coming off the bench, obviously, okay, they got a nice bench. When you got Dante DiVincenzo, who's a nice player, put more of his impact into game 3. I didn't think was that all that productive in the first 2 games. Okay, you got a pretty good squad. If those two are coming off the bench, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's got obviously a role as well. He understands his role. They got some players that come off the bench, and they got some real players. Naz Reid has won 6th Man of the Year before. Naz Reid's a phenomenal player. But let me continue to kind of talk about what the definition of a role player is. Jaden McDaniels is a role player. Jaden McDaniels might be the 2nd or 3rd best player in the series so far. And I'm not kidding. I'm being honest here. I'm not trying to be dramatic or anything else. LeBron had a quote in the postgame. What did LeBron say? LeBron said, I think they were talking about Anthony Edwards, or I forget what the conversation was, but LeBron said something to the effect of Jaden McDaniels won them the game. Ant was Ant. This is what Anthony Edwards do. You always expect Anthony Edwards. But how aggressive Jaden McDaniels was, he took 22 shots. I don't know. Did he take more shots than LeBron? I don't know if he took more, less shot, but it was within a shot or two. Jaden McDaniels dropping 30 on your ass. If this is a battle between the role players, then the Lakers are cooked because I don't know who's going to step up. And I'm not even telling you. And listen, part of the advantage for the Lakers is you got Austin Reeves, you got LeBron, you got Luka. So there's going to be more on the back of your star players versus their star players. Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, and I'm putting Julius Randle into that category because that's how key of a player he is for the Minnesota Timberwolves. But okay, well, there's 3 versus 2. So clearly for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're going to rely more on their role players than the Lakers are. But, I mean, you can't get nothing from these guys. Tell me which of these role players right now that you have confidence in. I'm a big fan of Dorian Finney-Smith. I have no idea what he's going to give for the Lakers tonight or this afternoon. No idea. If you told me he had 6 points, I wouldn't be surprised. If you told me he had 15 points, I'd actually be surprised. Gabe Vincent. I got no idea what Gabe. I'll tell you, if I had to put money on it, are these role players going to come through or are they not? Yeah, I'm probably going with the not coming through because that's what I've been watching so far in the postseason. You got to get some help. You got to get some production from your people. And, clearly right now, from a role player perspective, Lakers are getting dragged across the basketball floor if you're talking about just role players. Somebody's got to step up. And unfortunately, I don't think I have a crazy amount of confidence to think that there's going to be a number of different guys that step up. But somebody's got to step up. And I'll tell you this. If we're sitting here at about 3:30 doing a post-game show and Lakers tied the series up 2 apiece, then they must have had 5 or 6 guys scoring double figures, or Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves gave you 90 total between those 3. Because I don't know where it's all coming from. And if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm going to pump my brakes real quick on Minnesota and because I have a section here that I'm going to give them some credit on. Their defense, they're allowing, let me give you guys, if I could remember this off the top of my head, I think it's 95, 94, and 104 through the first 3 games, which means they're holding the Lakers on average in these first 3 games to below 100 points. You're winning a lot of playoff games if you're able to do that. And if you're the Lakers, God bless Luka, God bless LeBron, God bless Austin Reeves. If you're not getting help from the rest of the troops, especially with what Minnesota's doing with some of its role players, what are you guys thinking? Want to go Cancun? Want to go Cabo? Maybe there's different areas of Mexico that you're interested in because they'll be packing their bags here pretty quick unless they start getting some help from other players. All right, let's see what we got here. What made you think the Lakers were the better team, Luka and 40-year-old LeBron? Watching them play in the regular season and locking up the number 3 seed in the Western Conference and going through teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets and winning on the road at Memphis and the big game against the Dallas Mavericks and ending up with 50 wins in the regular season. What made you not think that the Lakers had a good shot of beating the Minnesota Timberwolves? I mean, we could all look at it now when they're down 2-1 and fighting for their playoff lives. That's going to come up in a couple of hours. It's easy now to say, well, of course they were going to lose. No, I disagree with that. They played the regular season as if they had a shot to make some noise in the playoffs. I mean, at least get out of the first round. At least get out of the first round. We need playoff Gabe to show up. Let me know. Let me know when that happens. Now have to contain Jaden McDaniels also. I know. I refuse. I'm gonna get a few more of these in here, and then we'll talk about the Wolves here. Agree. Our main problem has been not getting nothing. I mean nothing. Jackson Hayes, nothing. Obviously, Gabe Vincent, almost nothing. Vando's not playing enough minutes, and even when he is in there, obviously he's not in there for his offense. But, Yeah, these guys got step up. Rui hasn't deserved his starter spot since December, and no one's talking about it. Can I tell you this? I mean, honestly, what? Okay, Rui's starting or he's not. He's still going to probably play around the same amount of minutes. So and what's your other option? Is it Dorian Finney-Smith? Cool. I'm a huge Dorian Finney-Smith fan. Has he been all that impressive? He hasn't been all that impressive in the playoffs. How inconsistent is AR? Well, if he doesn't do something today, then yeah, not good. Not good. All right, let's see. We should have gotten Mark Williams if they're just going to keep Connect on the bench. Yeah, I think the problem was I think that was why they were trying to make that trade, because they didn't think that they were going to be using him. But I'm going to give if Rob Pelinka doesn't believe that that man was healthy, then I'm going to leave that alone. But let's just put it this way: in the offseason, he better come up with a solution. Lake Show 1996. Thank you for the 5 spot, brother. I appreciate you. 0 minutes for Hayes. Increased minutes for the Gabe Vando, Jordan Goodwin. Start Vando to set the defensive tone on Ant. Rui needs to play well today. If you told me coming into this game, I was reading a couple of articles that, hey, will the Lakers change something? Will they change something with their starting lineup? If you told me today that Jackson Hayes is not starting, yeah, I'm cool. Sounds good. No problem here. I don't think I would lose any sleep or get frustrated or send out tweets saying, well, what the hell are you talking about? Desperate times call for desperate measures, and we'll see if the Lakers, what they do from that perspective. I will say I'll save it for my prediction here. Lake Show 96. Thank you, brother. I appreciate the super. Let's get another super one in here. Intel Wild. No roll call and no fist pumps if we lose today, Sliwa. Nothing. My hands will be in my pocket. And I'll tell everyone, I don't care where you're tuning in from. Nothing. Let's see. Obviously, let's see what happens. Intel Wild, I appreciate the super there, brother. Okay, I still got a couple topics to get into. I'm going to kind of speed things up here. I don't want to go too long past 10:30. Wolves credit. Yeah, they're just, it's good basketball. They get stops. They play defense. Everybody's got a role. Obviously what their role players have been able to do have been brilliant. I mean, Naz Reid in game 1, Jaden McDaniels in game 1, Jaden McDaniels in game 3. If you look at when Minnesota scored 85 points in game 2, it was the lowest total that they've ever had. Give the Lakers a ton of credit. They jumped all over them in the first quarter and just kind of held on to that lead the rest of the way. But I will say this. I will say that in game 3, the 2 games that they won, Ant and Julius Randle had real help. And that's kind of their model. And if you guys remember before the series started, I had mentioned something to the effect of, listen, if Anthony Edwards is dropping 35, but he doesn't have that many assists and not everybody else is eating, then I'll take my chances with that. But the 2 wins that they have, they got a really nice balanced attack. And I think they got 5 guys that scored in double figures. And I think Mike Conley had 9 points. So you virtually had 6 guys that were in double figures for Minnesota, on top of all these other players putting up good points. 3 guys scoring over 20 and Jaden McDaniels leading the way for them with 30. They've been more impressive than I thought. I thought there was too much dependence on Anthony Edwards, and I thought that's kind of what the series would look like. But Ant, I thought, had a perfect game. Not a perfect game, but a really good game in game 3. You saw the way he closed out. Game tied at 103, step back 3 over Luka. Couple possessions later, drives to the basket, draws 3 defenders, finds Naz Reid for an open 3, and that was a ball game. They went up 6. They didn't turn around back. I think they ended the game 13-1. He had a couple other buckets, a drive to the basket over LeBron, another step back, and he just iced the game. Anthony Edwards got a chance to be, I'm the superstar. I'm sure in his mind, he feels like he's the best player on the floor, but he's got role players that are playing their role. So Minnesota playing phenomenal on the defensive side, making things difficult for a lot of these, Laker players, shutting down a lot of the Laker role players, causing turnovers. That's why they're up 2-1. All right, how do they tie this series tonight? Today. Let me give you guys exactly the blueprint of how they tie it. Luka and LeBron and Austin Reed. Let me just Luka real quick here. Luka obviously had the stomach flu, whatever he had going on. If he's healthy today, Luka's got some work to do today. He's got to go back similar to game 2, being the guy that sets the tone for the Lakers on offense. Close to 30 points, close to 8 or 10 assists. He's got to do his thing. That's got to just be there. You got to kind of write that in that's there. LeBron doesn't have to drop another 35 or 38 or something along those lines, but he's got to be around that 22 to 25 point. He's got to be around that perspective, 22 to 25 points. And then he also has to do the other things: 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, something along those lines. Reeves has to have the same type of game he had in game 3. Not, you kind of lose Reeves and you're not 100% sure what kind of performance he's going to have. He's got to be the Austin Reeves that he was in the regular season. Put all that to the side. There's 2 other things that are most important to me coming into this, how the Lakers tie the series by the time we do the postgame show. You got to have role players step up. You have to. And if you don't have a playoff team. So either those role players step up tonight. I don't care who it is. Just give me 2 players that you feel their presence. I'm not even saying you got to, I'm not saying it's got to be 3, 4 guys. 2 players. 2 players where you feel their presence. Rui and Dorian Finney-Smith. Sounds good. Jordan Goodwin and Jackson Hayes. Sounds good. I don't care who they are. Just you need a couple of guys that come through. And the last thing I'm going to mention, here's how the Lakers win games. They win games on defense. They don't win games on offense. They win games on defense. If you're giving up 116 points later this afternoon, you're down 3-1. If you're giving up around 100 and Ant's having a game where you got to take a ton of shots, but it's not efficient, that Jaden McDaniels doesn't look like the second coming of pick some of the top players to ever play the game, I slow down some of their role players as well. Just make their games reasonable. But I really do believe this. I've said this from the beginning. The Lakers are at their best when they get stops. If they get stops later this afternoon, all these other guys just do their job. They don't have to do anything special. They could tie this series up 2-2. My prediction is very simple. Lakers are not going back to crypto, down 3-1 in this series. That's my prediction. How they get there, how ugly the game is, how muddy the water becomes. I don't care if it's, dirty, or however you want to describe it. I mean, obviously, within reason. You're desperate to tie up this series. If we got any of our predictions right about the Lakers and the type of team that this is and grabbing that number 3 slot in the Western Conference, you got to play arguably your best game you've played all season long when the pressure is on. I'm a fan when the pressure is on for this Lakers team. Maybe it wakes them up. We're going to find out here very, very soon. But Minnesota, they're smelling some blood in the water. What are the Lakers going to do about it? We'll find out. All right, let me get a couple of these comments in here. Start Alex Lynn, Intel Wild. I'm just going to assume that that you are that you're screwing with me here, and I will accept it if it's that. The big 3 need to all go and score 25 to 30 each, and the bench needs to be more production. Don't forget this. Got to get stops. I mean, you go out there and these guys can all have good offensive games. You got to get stops. They're going to have to get stops. Let's see a couple more of these comments. What the F is Bron smiling and joking with the Wolves during crunch minutes? Yeah, different time. I think some people hate that. I think everybody's got an opinion. I'm with you. There's a little bit of like, you guys want to wait till after the game? We're in the middle of a big game here. Today's NBA. Here's the formula. Doncic needs have 2 great games in a row, and Braun and company needs to finish them off at home. Let's see what we got here. Hayes gets fouls in the layup line. You're right about that. They're going back to crypto, tied it 2 apiece. Honestly, after that buzzer beater by Denver yesterday, I'm not expecting anything. How about that game? Incredible game. Everybody must step up for this game in every way today. All right, my people, I appreciate you guys hanging out for the pregame show. Thank you very much for kind of taking a chunk out of your morning to be here. We still got a couple hours before tip off. So hopefully, if you didn't get a chance to watch this live, you got a chance to watch it before the game starts. Throughout the playoffs, I'll continue to do about a half-hour pregame show is what I'm targeting here. Thank you for being here. Right after the game, please tune in for the post-game show. I will obviously be here for that, and we'll react to the game. Guys, I got to be honest. This is kind of this is the Lakers season. Either they're going back to crypto.com, and series is tied at 2 apiece, and this is anybody's series, or they're down 3-1. And I have no reason to feel confidence that the Lakers would come back from a 3-1 deficit against Minnesota. They've just outplayed the Lakers. So let's see what happens with everything on the line. Here's the good news. Luka desperation, LeBron desperation, a lot of these players to be desperate, JJ Redick to be desperate. They all understand how important this game is. Let's see what happens. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. And I will see you guys after Game 4. Lakers at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Tip-off coming at 12:30. Hope you guys enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you, everybody.